Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Roll Call. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone. Thank you all for coming out today. If you're watching this live, I appreciate it. If you're watching this on the replay, you guys are awesome too. So today's show, we're going to have Lauren Conlin. But before Lauren, she's in the green room. Before I bring her in, I just want to let you know. So today was a doubleheader. So today at 8 o'clock, as you know, we have Roll Call. And tonight at 6 p.m., I have Dr. Peter Vronsky on. And Dr. Vronsky is a serial killer expert. He's written a number of books on it. And we're going to discuss Richard Cottingham and the alleged Long Island serial killer suspect. So that'll be tonight at 6 p.m. So tune in tonight and just hang tight now. So I just want to let you know, as I always do, what Roll Call is all about. Roll Call is when the cops get together in the platoon and they do either the day shift, the midnights, and the 4 to 12s. And what happens is they get their assignments from the sergeants and lieutenants, and then they go out and to the patrol or wherever they have. So the pop reference culture, of course, Hill Street Blues, the sergeant, be careful out there. So without any further talking from me, we bring in
Hi.
Lauren Conlin. Good to see you, Lauren.
Hi. Good to see you too. Good morning. Happy to be here with my coffee.
So, folks, yes, Nightbot will be sharing Lauren's links, including her Twitter and her YouTube page. So make sure we go over to PopCrimeTV and subscribe over to Lauren. Subscribe, and we want to see her channel grow because it's just really starting, right? You're just getting into the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I hopefully some of your listeners are very forgiving, but I'm just getting started. I've had this channel forever, but it's kind of remained dormant with just me uploading videos after the fact. But I'm trying to be more engaging and do more lives, and they're fun. I really think they're fun, and I also think they're helpful. So,
yeah,
yes, thank you for plugging me.
Yes, no problem. So we'll get all that too, and also too.
Perfect.
I know now that July 4th is coming out, so I guess we're going to be hearing all kinds of pumpkin spice lattes coming out soon. But the merchandise store has just announced that they're doing hoodies and sweatshirts. So you can pick up your mugs and stuff like that. So there's going to be hoodies and sweatshirts available
I want
too.
all of it.
The countries are expanding. The countries are expanding.
I mean, honestly, Joe, if I'm going to wear any merchandise from any, no, really, from any podcaster, any creator, it's going to be yours because, guys, I don't say this enough, and I said this to Joe just offline. He's just one of the best guys out there, the best guys covering crime. He's so respectful. I mean, I can go on and on and on, knowledgeable, but I'm such a fan of you, Joe.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Yeah, there's a little extra in your paycheck this week. All right, so let's get in there because let's get in there. The audience is here to hear you talk about certain things. I want to start off with the Karen Reed, and I thought that when this case was going to be over, I figured that we wouldn't be talking about certain things, but we had some blockbusters yesterday. We had a 2-for-1. Which one do you want to start off with? Do you want to start off with the suspension, or do you want to start off with the?
Yeah, actually, I think it would be interesting to address some of the salacious things that have happened, just to not really discuss them, but just touch upon this actually happened after a verdict. So, or not necessarily after, but let's say right before the picture was released of Alan Jackson and Karen, and that completely swept, my goodness, every single headline. Like for the first time, I think the New York Post actually made this story one of the top stories because of that photo. And then after that, sadly, I guess Turtle Boy's mother died, and there seemed to be a murder from his family's house, which was tragic and terrible. And again, that made the New York Post, and I was shocked. And so I'm like, what is going on with this case? My goodness. And then yesterday was a huge day. And that's when we saw, what did you want to start with? Sorry.
So we have the two things. You can either start with the, Alan Jackson putting out a dismissal, an outright dismissal of the case, or the suspension without pay of
let's start with that then, because Joe and I were talking about Proctor's hearing, and we knew that this hearing was going to be held on Monday, but Trooper Proctor could not be fired from this hearing. It was either he was suspended without pay, or he could return to do administrative duties. Maybe you can fill me in on this, Joe.
Yeah.
When you get suspended without pay, which he did, that's what happened. What's next for you?
Well, yeah, just to before this we'll back up just a little bit
Yeah.
on there. This is something that I have been saying now a couple of times. And actually the last time you and I were together, Lauren, about when the governor weighed in again. So
Yeah.
twice, when the governor weighs in twice on something and she controls
Right.
and she appoints who's ahead of the state police. And I've been saying all along that there's gonna be, heads are gonna roll in this. And a lot of
Yeah.
pushback, people said, oh, nothing's gonna change this. And I say, no, this is different. But in
Yeah.
policing, yeah, unless it is something so outrageous where even if you get arrested for something, everyone has their due process. Everyone has their innocent until proven guilty thing. So
Yeah.
next to firing, being suspended without pay is the second worst thing. So, and
It
I had
is.
said this on Twitter, yesterday, that this is not a good harbinger of things to come for him.
Right. But I guess I'm wondering, it's the second worst thing, right? But then, so what does he have a timeline? I mean, maybe not him specifically, but does one usually get this whole you're suspended without pay for 6 months, 3 months? How does that necessarily work? Or is it like, I mean, how are you on your best
It's
behavior for 6 months if you don't do any work?
Yeah, they I don't think they time frame on this, right? So I don't know if it's
Okay.
I don't know if it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or what have you. But what happens is
Yeah.
they're usually doing this during an administrative trial. See, once you have a criminal trial going on, like you had with the Karen Reed trial, you're not going
Yeah.
to do anything because it'll just screw
Okay.
everything up. And anything you
Oh,
find in an
okay.
administrative trial would be inadmissible in court. So if people think that he's going to be charged with any crimes, then
Okay.
that's a whole other issue.
That's not okay. Got it. Got it. So, and then just going back to someone that would, let's say, get administrative work instead of this, what does that usually entail? And would he have a better chance of going back on active state trooper duty if he had gotten that,
Right.
or if he had
So
met with that fate?
when you're suspended without pay, you don't go to work. All right, you stay home. That's the
Yeah,
whole thing.
right.
You're not getting
But I'm
paid. You're not
saying if,
showing up at the office.
yeah, I'm saying if he got the administrative work.
Oh, if he got the administrative work, he'd still be going to
Yeah.
work in uniform. I mean, he'd be stripped. I think they stripped him of his gun and shield already. So
Yes.
he'd be
Yes.
answering phones somewhere in a building. I mean, that's basically what he'd be doing, filing paperwork and that kind of stuff.
And again, do you think that that would give him a better chance of going back
Oh yeah.
to what he was doing before? And what would you say, how long? I mean, I'm just wondering if this is the start, right? He's suspended without pay, then he moves up to administrative duty, and then he goes back to active duty. And that's kind of what I'm afraid of. But
Well, when you're in that position, right, it's because you're under investigation. It's going to depend on
yeah.
what the investigation says. So if the
Hmm.
investigation says yes, you violated this rule, that rule, this rule, this rule, it depends on how bad it is, right? We outlined a number of things last time, right?
Yeah.
Admission to drinking and then driving a department vehicle. The whole gift thing
Drive.
that they're going to have to
Yeah.
look into that, right? So the unlawful gratuities part of it. They're going to,
Yep.
and I had said earlier that you're not going to get fired because you used bad words, right, or derogatory terms. That
Yeah.
you're not going to get
Yeah.
fired for that.
Right.
As awful as we all find it, it's not a fireable offense. But the issue that comes down
Yeah.
to is he's teetering on the edge, right? So this goes either way. But when you're dealing, so a lot of people saying now, about, oh, this was a cover-up part. Well, if it's a cover-up, here's the problem. There's a Supreme Court case, New Jersey versus Garrity, that gives the rights and protections to police officers just like ordinary U.S. citizens. The
Yeah.
administrative trial always comes last. So a criminal trial has to come first.
Yeah.
So if they're pushing forward an administrative trial, there is nothing going on in regards to what the feds are
Right.
saying, because the feds would step in and say, yeah, no, you're not doing that. So
So
I
that was
think
my
that,
question, Joe. My
yeah,
question was, this probably means that something is going on with the feds, and I would assume so. Like, I would assume that the governor knows something, they know something, and they're like, okay, if we don't do this, then this could look very bad on us when the feds come out with their findings. Or I could be wrong, totally wrong, just speculation.
well, the way it works is just in general, not even so with this case, but any police officer, the administrative trial is always last, because whatever you find in an
Yeah.
administrative trial, see, because you are forced to be a witness against yourself in an administrative trial, meaning they'll ask you certain questions. If you plead the fifth or whatever, that's automatic fireable offense. So that's why the administrative trial for policing always
Jeez.
comes last, because anything they find in an administrative trial cannot be used against you in the court of law in a criminal case because it's not fair. That's where Garrity University, New Jersey came out. That's why that decision was made, because cops are forced to testify against themselves. Right? Did you
So
do this?
Joe,
The answer
you could say you could exercise your right, but that you'd be fired.
for
Pretty
administrative reasons.
much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
had
I
no idea. I had no
when I had retired from
idea.
the
Oh my God.
yeah, when I retired from the police department, I said when somebody had asked me, I said, "So how do you feel?" I said, "I feel like an American citizen again with all my rights." Because
Yeah,
as a police officer, yeah, people don't realize this, but you don't have the same
that's
protections
messed up.
that yeah, you are forced to talk, to
Yeah,
provide evidence against yourself. So the
that is
administrative stuff,
messed up.
yeah, just for the folks that are watching, administrative trials are always last, right? So what we're going to do, Lauren, on this, we're going to watch to
Yeah,
see exactly what goes on. Because if they come out in a couple of weeks and say we have, we've completed our investigation and this is going to be the punishment, wherever that
yeah.
punishment may be, then we know there's no criminal case going on.
So why couldn't they just fire him? Just curious. What would be the reasons here? I mean, it's like
Uh,
the investigation is ongoing and that's why, but they need to do something.
well, there are certain protections. I don't know if Massachusetts is a civil service law or not.
Yeah,
So we know there's an association which acts like the union, and you have the employee rights and stuff like that. So you have, and just like every other citizen, right? You have a right to a fair trial and everything else, and that's
right.
basically what it is, right? So internal affairs, what does the investigation, they hand it over to another body, and then that body will have basically like a court hearing, and you'd go
Yeah.
down there and you would do this. So it's just one of those processes that it actually could take a while.
And I'm wondering if anything is what, if anything, no, I'm just kidding, is going to happen to Officer Buchanan, his superior. I mean, I guess nothing, but still, he had a hand in just kind of, sweeping all of this under the rug. But like you said, he wasn't involved in allegedly in any gift giving or in anything like
Yeah.
that, getting drunk in his cop cruiser. But who's to say?
Well, I think there's going to be some other people dinged in this, right? I think that we'll see some transfers, or we might not even hear about it, right? So
Yeah.
there's
Right.
going to be
Right.
transfers and those kind of things. You might hear about it, like way down the road. But
Hmm.
I really, because remember the colonel right now is still only like temporary. He's only been in this position for a while, and the governor
Yeah.
hasn't decided yet. So this colonel has some big decisions to make, and this is where the politics comes in, right? So if he wants to stay, he's going to have to follow. His boss has already spoken out about this twice, so he's in a
Yeah.
very precarious position too. So when people said earlier, like, "Oh, come on, Joe, there's going to be no changes. This is Massachusetts," and I'm like, "No, this one's different. You got people at the top, vying for their jobs."
Yeah. No, it's you gotta think about the people in Massachusetts right now. And my heart honestly goes out to them just because of all of this drama and this alleged corruption within the police station. And I obviously am tying this to Sandra Birchmore as well, but it's just, it makes one feel uncomfortable, I guess. It makes me personally, if I lived there, I'd feel, and I'm not naive. I know that corruption exists everywhere, but right now, this is at the forefront. And it's almost like everybody knows about it, right? It's almost like Massachusetts, it's standing there with its pants down and everyone can see. So that's what really makes me think about it and feel really bad.
And the family of John O'Keefe is still left with unanswers, and
Oh,
and not no answers, and that's the real
no. And
heartbreak in all this.
yes. And, I said this pre-taping a show yesterday. Paul O'Keefe, when he came out and did that interview, and no matter what you think about what happened, I was just shocked at people attacking him, I guess, where it's just like, guys, it's like, it doesn't matter what we think. We're not on the jury. We're not, this is not our family. It was sad. It's sad to see what this case has also done to humanity, if you will. Just the people that are just not nice
the
about it and
the
not,
vitriol
yeah.
is the vitriol's been
It's
absolutely
crazy,
bonkers.
and just between like the dead turtle when someone's parent dies to harassing and
Yeah,
uh the brother of a victim, I'm just like, man, this is
yeah.
intense.
Well, We're not even going to get into some of the other things that people have been tweeting all about that too. But it just, yeah, we've
Oh
kind of
no,
lost
it's not even
our,
worth it.
yeah,
It's not even worth it it's just like I just had to bring it up because it's so crazy.
yep. And then so that was the Proctor part of it, and then
Mhm.
the dismissal charge, right? So
Yes.
I was
I'm
I
gonna
was
pull that
shocked.
up.
I was shocked and not shocked, right? So what do I mean by that? Lauren, I think we both said that there's more than one juror sticking out of this, right? I mean, in order to
Yes.
not convince him. We're finding out
Oh
now,
yeah.
according to, and this is according to Alan Jackson, right? 12-0 for acquittal
Yes.
on
Yep.
the murder charge and the leaving the scene, right? One and
So
three.
I'm reading it right now.
Right.
I can tell you exactly. Well, I'm actually I think I sent you that full
Yep.
motion. And
Yep. I read it.
Yeah, I want to say, and you said this, but let's keep in mind this is to be known through Alan Jackson. That is what we know, right? We don't know. We weren't there. No one else has come forward and said, yes, this juror came to me as well. Not that I guess you don't, right? You don't need two people to, I mean, that would be better than one, I guess, to validate or
Yeah.
verify. But yeah, this
Yeah.
is coming from one person. And he actually throws in there, it follows that a jury acquittal is entitled to utmost respect in our criminal justice system. The double jeopardy clause provides that no person shall be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So if those charges get dropped, he's dropping the double jeopardy on them. That's like crazy. But also, is this possible here for this to happen? This would require Judge Bev to step back and be like, oh yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't discuss this with the defense. I didn't put this out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think she would ever do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, and I don't think Alan Jackson is going to put anything out there that they don't believe that they've either vetted or corroborated, right? So, and he's not going to write this whole thing on there. But
I
I'm no
agree with you.
lawyer.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm no lawyer, but the issue that comes down to is double jeopardy would only come into play, I thought, if there was a not guilty, right? Not a hung jury. So I don't know if,
Well, he was citing that if those two counts get thrown out, he's making it clear you cannot retry her for that. This trial can only be a manslaughter trial. That's it. Because the two
that's what he's
charges
saying, right?
were, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't
was the murder
official though,
too.
right? But it's
No,
not
no,
official. Yeah, that's the thing.
no.
So, like I said, if Defense Diaries is in the room, he's got to weigh in on that. But it's interesting the
No.
fact that. But here's the other little interesting thing that, and I listened to a couple of pundits out there, and I really hadn't heard anybody. So if they eliminate the murder charge as the one, and they eliminate the leaving the scene, then the second one kind of falls apart. See, that's because
Manslaughter,
it's
yeah.
about the manslaughter for driving under the influence. And if you lose the third charge about leaving the scene, oh, stupid thing,
Right.
leaving the scene,
Sorry.
that's okay. Leave it. Oh, we can get the fireworks too.
That was funny. Yeah, that was good.
I don't know how to
I
turn
didn't
them
know
off.
that. Wow.
I don't know how to turn it off.
Amazing. That was
But
amazing.
but it's that. Think about that for a second. If he gets the 1 and 3 turned out, 2 falls apart too, because you can't have 2 without having 3. For leaving the scene.
That's really interesting. I didn't think about that. I mean, I kind of just thought about it from the simple perspective of, oh, you also just lost your lead investigator. He's literally suspended without pay, and you want to do this retrial, and obviously you can do it without him, sure. But again, how does that look? Oh, okay. Sorry, I have a child in here.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's
I'll be
okay.
right up. Your breakfast is on the table, okay? Okay, great. Sorry, camp starts later today, so
That's okay. No worries. Yeah, we
Yeah,
run a clean
so-
show here anyway, so it's not a problem.
yes, absolutely. No dead body talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and my buddy Mike's in
So-
the chat. He's not in here, so we don't have to worry about him saying something. Anyway, but
Okay,
so
we
yeah,
gotta love Mike.
this is a big deal. What
Yeah,
happens? I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do said, if you remember, Lauren, I said last week, remember I said, you heard it here first. If something befalls Proctor in his career, Morrissey has his out, right? And I
Yes.
think that because he's going to say, I can't go on with the case. It's not my fault.
Right.
And
Right.
then and then I think he pulls the plug right afterwards. I
Yeah.
think he retires
Yeah.
right after,
No,
even
I-
what a year ago.
You did call that. You called that, and I mean, I tend to agree with you on that. Hi, Mike. But yeah, I think that, gosh, I can't believe we're all going to be most likely glued to our phones on July 22nd, watching this hearing and seeing what goes down. Oh, so I did not see this with my own eyes. Maybe you did, and maybe your viewers know this. Was there a motion to get a new lawyer as well for
whom?
Alan Jackson? For Karen, or some kind of like that Alan
That I
Jackson was
don't know.
not going to. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody tweeted that and I didn't see it. I didn't take the time to look it up. I just didn't have time, but just curious if anyone knows that.
Yep, I honestly I
Okay.
didn't hear about that, but we'll be
Okay.
watching it, and I'm sure you're going to keep us posted, whether it's here or on Pop Crime
Yes.
TV, right? So
Yes, sir. I will
we're
tweet
going.
it, or I will definitely.
All right, very good. All right, so let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
And we got to talk about Nikki McCain, right? I
Yes.
mean, this is the missing woman from California. She's been gone now over a month. She's been missing over a month. She missed her
Well over
court
a
date.
month.
Yeah, she missed her court date. Yeah, for those that don't know the Nikki McCain story, right? So she missed her court date of a domestic violence case against her husband, Tyler. And the prosecutor removed the charges against the husband because she failed to show up for court, correct?
She dropped the charges last Friday, July 5th. But she reserves the right to refile them, of course. Essentially, Nikki McCain filed this police report back in December. They've had a bunch of pretrial hearings. They've had set mediation conferences. And it was May 18th. She was last seen. May 25th, her car was found. It was found in this remote area. And by the way, I want to point out, this is Redding, California. This is where Sherry Papini fake disappeared. Same area. And it's been said by some locals that, Nikki's case is not getting the same attention that Sherry did, which is really too bad. But it's twofold here, because Nikki disappeared right by these tribal lands, the Redding Rancheria tribal lands, 45 miles away from this casino, the Wind River Casino. And obviously you can't search tribal lands without their permission. So the Redding Rancheria only let a search go on for, I believe, about 2 days in only certain areas, and they own over 30 acres. Now, here's the weird kicker as to why I'm confused that they're not being more accommodating with this. Tyler McCain, Nikki, and I learned she goes by Nikki Cheng. That's what everyone calls her. Nikki Cheng's husband, Tyler McCain, his family is very connected to the Redding Rancheria tribe. His aunt is the vice chairman, and he has other family members who are council members. So they can pretty much make the call here. So that is a little concerning. That's number one. Number two, 2 days before he was set to appear in court, Joe, a fire started on his property. And this was said to have started, he claims he parked his car on dry grass, dry vegetation, and it was a catalytic converter spark that started this. Now, if you are a lifelong resident of California, which he essentially is, and the temperature last week when he did this, it was well over 115 degrees. You know better, man. You literally know better. So this fire started, burned this car. Joe, when I tell you this fire was not small, it spread across 98 acres of land. Okay. Evacuations went into his neighbor's yard. His house wasn't necessarily touched. Again, car burned. We don't know if this is evidence, that he was burning. We have no idea. And again, he was not criminally charged or arrested for this fire. And I looked it up, and somebody else about a month earlier, and I feel really bad for this one guy because he clearly was not from this country, and he was hired to do some yard work in someone's yard, and the lawnmower caught on fire, and that spread to 45 acres. So literally half of Tyler's fire, this guy gets arrested. Tyler doesn't. Really, really odd. And Tyler admitted to having accidentally starting the fire to a local reporter. So the Cal Fire wasn't going to give his name, but the reporter was like in front of the property saying, this is a Tyler McCain property, blah, blah, blah. And Tyler's like, yeah, that was me. It was, my car did this, whatever. So that's another really odd thing about this case, besides the fact that poor Nikki has been missing for a very long time. And again, she's a mother of 4. And I was on Nancy yesterday with her sisters, and there's a lot that needs to be done, it sounds like. And again, Denise says, oh, you live close by. Yeah, she's not getting coverage. It's really strange. And again, this show is more laid back, so I'll just, I'll say my speculation. I speculate a lot of this might be political in a way, when it comes to his family and when it comes to Shasta County. And I found a lawsuit as well between the casino that Redding Rancheria owns in Shasta County. And I'll be going over that on a live tomorrow with my my co-host that's a lawyer, because he can sort of explain all this. But I think this case might be a little bit bigger than we think, Joe.
Yeah, I think so. And then Deb is also saying I saw this on Nancy Grace. So said, yeah, actually, you turned me on to this case. And also, there's a Twitter feed. I think it's Legacy.
Legacy. Yeah, she's great.
Legacy. Legacy turned me. Yeah, she's been posting about this also. So between you and Legacy, I kind of learned about this case. So because I didn't. Well, first of all, I can't follow every case that goes on, right? So
of course.
There's so many things going on, but when something big like this happens, this is a really interesting case because there's all kinds of signs that you can look at and say that there's something that needs to be investigated, of course. But with the tribal lands, you're dealing with some issues there. So
Joe,
feds, you might see the feds get involved in this.
Well, that's what I read, and I want to ask you this from a law enforcement perspective. I mean, there's a lot that should be being done here, and I'm sure they are, right? You have to trust law enforcement, and we obviously know they're not required to tell us anything, but Nikki's family seems to not know anything about what they're doing, and maybe that's to not hinder an investigation. But it's like, did they get, allegedly Nikki was supposed to be visiting her brother-in-law at a hospital. Did they get the video from the hospital? Did they ping a cell phone? I just want to know what was going on. The car, we talked about this. The car, it said it was slightly melted, but that it was a newish car, or he just bought it from someone else used. So did that have anything to do with it? It's again, so many questions. And I feel like now in 2024, internet sleuths and TikTokers and content creators, they're really good at helping. We as a community are so good at helping that it's kind of like, we want to know this information, even though we're not entitled to it, but we could really help piece things together,
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of good, of course, on the true crime community. There's a lot of bad too.
Yes.
But but the issue that comes down to is this medium helps cases like Nikki's, who people believe aren't getting enough national attention, and you can bring that. So, and that I think we've seen the pressure put on certain departments, including ones in like Idaho and a couple other, just to name one right off the bat, where that social media pressure is big.
Yep.
But you're dealing with an unknown here in regards to the tribal lands, because from what I read, they put out a presser yesterday. And is it Rancheria?
Yeah, Rancheria.
Rancheria? Yeah, because I'm terrible with names. So if I mispronounce something, just correct me, because somebody else will. Don't worry about that. But
no,
it is what it is. Yeah, names are not my thing. But
that's so funny.
But what's going on here is that they, when I read the presser, I hope I read it correctly, but they said they don't have the tribal police there. They don't have their own tribal police, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, they don't. I know they have, like I said, they have actually, you know what's funny? I have my case notes right here. I can tell you, it looks like they just have, they have about 10 people that run this. And I believe because it's one of 6 federally recognized tribes in that area, they have their own, their own taxes. They have their own.
Yeah, they're sovereign. They have, it's like an own country.
Yeah, but they don't have their own police. That is so strange. I'm looking at, some of these notes. Very odd. More on Redding Rancheria. Yeah, interesting. No, and it's not even this tribe is not even the largest tribe in that area, but it's very prominent. And I guess obviously their main revenue source is the casino,
Right.
which is huge for Shasta County. So where they might not be the biggest, I think they offer a lot to the area.
You know what though? I think that they're cooperating because they know that the feds, can step into this at any time. And the issue that comes down to is, I know
don't
the
know.
family,
Yeah.
the family has been very vocal on, Nancy Grace and stuff like that too, and might also preclude law enforcement from saying certain things to them because they're afraid, because
Got it.
now that they're making the rounds. So,
Got it.
we're going to hold that kind of judgment until we find out later on exactly what happens in regards to that. But Lauren, communication between the cops and the family are always strained because the cops don't call the family up just to tell them nothing, right? We don't call up to say, "Hi, how you doing? Yeah, we still haven't found anything. So have a nice day. See you later." They don't do that. They don't do that. So
Totally. And yeah, and I didn't really think about that, I guess. Her sister's going on and saying things, and the Nancy episode that we did yesterday and it aired last night, Nancy actually asked Nikki's sister to text Nikki's mother-in-law and say, because there's some interesting things. Like Nikki was supposed to be driving her mother-in-law's car from the hospital to her mother-in-law's that night. And, Nancy was like, did it ever get there? Do we know that? And they were like, we don't know. They're not really texting us back, whatever. So Nancy's like, why don't you text her right now and just say, did the car ever make it? And we waited pretty much the whole episode and she didn't text her back to my knowledge, but I don't know what's happened, now. But I don't think they're being super helpful. I actually don't. I know they put up a billboard. They did the things that you're supposed to do. But deep down, no, I don't think, I genuinely don't think that they're doing all that they can. And I found on YouTube, the Redding Rancheria, which is so ironic. They have like this small YouTube page, but they had just like examples of how they helped women get out of domestic violence households. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Wow. Like you can't make this stuff up.
Well, like I said, I mean, we're gonna find out. But I also tell people too a lot of times when law enforcement is silent, that's generally a good sign, because they're not making pressers, they're not doing all this stuff. To me, they're investigating this case. They're trying to find out as much as they can. But there's just two things that I want answers to. And if I had said this on social media, the two things I want answers to is, did they execute a search warrant on the property? Or did they get consent to do a search on the property? Because the home and the cars, those become, if you're investigating this missing persons case, you handle it as if it's a homicide because that's basically what you have to to think about at this point. But
so it's not available, obviously, because it's an ongoing investigation. I do believe that the first police report, they did search the house because she did file. But you're right, the second one, and the fact that they were on the property during the fire, and that also wasn't probable cause to search anything because Tyler must have said, "Oh yeah, this is what I did." And if I'm Cal Fire, if I'm police, I'm just going to be like, "Man, you didn't know? How long have you lived here for? How long have you had this property for? I mean, how did you not know?" It's a little strange, And I've talked to some locals about this who actually know Tyler and know Nikki. And, they said that Tyler used to be a pretty decent guy, a decent dad from what they saw. And again, this is pure speculation from sources, but he might have gotten into some drugs and drugs might have played a factor in some of this erratic behavior. Pictures surfacing on Twitter yesterday. People were speculating that, the person he was with was into some drugs as well. And so it's again, I'm not reporting on this officially because I don't have actual proof, but there seems to be a bigger picture.
Well, there always is, right? So there's always something that goes on. And I would say things that get posted on Twitter, I always take a look, with one eye open and one eye closed because.
Oh yeah. And totally. And this came out when we were on Nancy and we were filming it and Nancy's like, is there anything new? And I'm just like, so I can't tell you this officially, but like I saw this on Twitter, but I'm trying to get, the original whatever. And she's like, okay, because you can't just put that out there. Like you said, you can't. And I hope people understand that, that are following this case and who might have been disappointed that I didn't put that out there or whatever. But I really was waiting on validation and verification.
Yeah, and that's what, because it said things you hear on Twitter. My God.
It's tough. It's tough, but I believe a lot of it. That's the thing. I'm like, hey, this looks real to me. I just have to double check, but I believe it.
All right, we're past the halfway mark. We have 228 people watching. We're talking to Lauren Conlin. Make sure you check her out on PopCrimeTV and YouTube and the Outliers podcast. It's in the show notes, so you can do that. But we're going to switch gears. We got a couple other things on the docket that we're going to try to get to in the next 25 minutes. Let's talk about Alec Baldwin, because that's
we have to.
Let's talk about Alec Baldwin.
Something big happened for him. Yeah, last night. So I've been covering this for the last 3 years, and it's been just like a roller coaster for me where I have all these different thoughts. But last night, yesterday, the judge ruled that Alec Baldwin's producer status would not play a role in this trial. And that is a huge deal because as a producer, Alec Baldwin on this film hired Hannah Gutierrez-Reed to be the armorist. I still am so bad at saying armorer versus armorist. I guess I don't know the right word to use. I
didn't know it had a gender to it, but it just
but I'm like, I've heard both words used, but so they have argued that he was negligent in this hiring and he should have done XYZ with the training, blah blah blah. And then on the flip side, as an actor, and SAG put out a statement essentially supporting him in January, and they just said, look, this is not an actor's job. An actor's job is, and I can pull this up while we talk about it. But let me see. Baldwin.
Yeah, what I thought, as you're looking for that, I thought was like rather interesting was during the pretrial hearing, they were fighting over, discovery material and about, they're saying that they want a continuance. They don't want to continue. The judge got really, really upset at both the defense and the prosecution.
And I was shocked at this judge. And that's why I was like, oh, she actually made a really fair ruling to let the producer thing be thrown out. Because listen, Joe, when the feds, and I don't know if your listeners are aware, your viewers, but when the feds tested that gun and they broke it into 3 pieces, and then this defense couldn't have their experts test it, I thought that was kind of crappy. And so his team said, yeah, this case should be thrown out. We literally can't even test the weapon used in, this fatal accident, which how are we supposed to defend our client? And how is that upholding his constitutional rights, And the judge is like, sorry, there's enough testing done. So we're proceeding. So I was like, wow, that would really upset me. But I want to read this part to you, what SAG-AFTRA said. The union argued that Baldwin was not responsible for firearm safety, and that if the prosecution rests on such a responsibility, that's an incorrect assessment of actual duties of an actor on set. And then SAG said, quote, an actor's job is not to be a firearms or weapon expert. Performers trained to perform, and they are not required or expected to be experts on guns or experienced in their use. The industry assigns that responsibility to qualified professionals, Hannah Reed, who oversee their use and handling in every aspect. So this is really good for Baldwin. Really, really good. Oh, thank you. Yeah, really good sign for him. So I know this is not popular, but I've said this. I think this is a waste of time, this trial.
Here's my pushback on that statement, though.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
No matter if you are in the possession of a handgun, real or not, the rule is you don't point it at anybody. Simple as that.
Well, you're an actor on a movie set. That's your job, is to point it at somebody, right? Like what?
Well, but
I'm getting loud. My voice getting high and loud. Sorry.
But that's you treat every gun as if it's loaded, and that's the deal, right? And listen, the whole thing about pulling the trigger and not pulling the trigger. I mean, he did that George Stephanopoulos thing. See, he did a couple of these interviews afterwards that still could come back and haunt him, right? So this is why lawyers go crazy when their clients start going out and giving these impromptu interviews. And I mean, he actually gave an impromptu interview on a side road somewhere up in Maine or Vermont or
I
something.
know. I
I don't know
liked
where it
that one
was.
though. I didn't mind that one because he stated she was my friend. Leave me alone. And I know he
Yeah,
can be a total ass to people. I get that. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
But yeah,
right. But
you
that
don't hold that against
aside,
him in court, right? Yeah, you
exactly.
can't hold
That
that against
aside,
him.
he stated many times she was my friend. Like he hired her. He knew her. I mean, he did not want this to happen, but I get what you're saying. You're right, but I just disagree in the sense that on a movie set, when your job is to have this scene and point a gun and shoot someone, that's your job. So and I remember hearing the George Stephanopoulos interview, and this is part of my roller coaster where I was like, well, Alec, if you didn't pull the gun, who did? But my brain couldn't really get around the fact that maybe it did malfunction and he just touched it and it you know what I mean? But I guess, will we know? I mean, hopefully the
Well,
feds did some solid
we
testing
saw
there.
we saw the FBI expert in the ballistics talk about it in the Hannah Gutierrez trial, and basically said that they had to beat this gun to pieces before it actually went off. So, and it didn't go off, right? So the issue that comes down to is, I think they have a tough road to hoe there.
Well, I think also what Kirk pointed out yesterday, it was super interesting because he could be found guilty, but get probation and not serve any
Yeah,
time. I don't. I mean, again, if what you just said holds true for Baldwin, where they really had to beat the, I mean, that's bad. That's not great. But once again, he's an actor, nothing more
yeah.
in this courtroom. So I just, I feel for everybody. I mean, nothing is going to bring back
Yeah.
this beautiful mother, this beautiful wife, and I said this yesterday. I firmly believe Alec Baldwin had post-traumatic stress for his entire life. I mean, I don't think this guy is ever going to be the same. I even saw, like, do you remember when that pro-Palestine person harassed him in a coffee shop a few months
Yeah.
ago? It went viral. I was actually shocked that it took him that long to freak out. You could tell he was like really trying, and he was really trying to be a better person. And this person was just really getting into him, laying it into him. And I was just like, yeah, I see that he's trying. I can see that he's just struggling with this. And again, I don't have skin in the game on this, right? This is my
Yeah.
observation.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, there's a lot of people. I did a poll on the channel, and
Yeah.
the poll was, are you even going to watch it? I think like out of over 1,000 people had voted, whatever, and the majority said no, they're not even going to watch this. So
Oh,
it's
that's
it's interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I think a lot of fatigue left over from the Karen Reed trial, and I think a lot of people are just kind of exhausted with trials right now. And this is such,
I'm not. I'm ready for another one. Are you kidding? I'm like,
well, like I said, the general population out there. I mean, listen, 1,000 isn't a whole, a whole swath
yeah.
of what do you call it, but still a
Yeah.
decent number of people to vote and saying that they're not even going to watch this thing. So
Oh, that's so funny that they said they're not even going to watch it. Maybe I got to go back and look. I think I voted on one of your polls not guilty. Because I just,
uh,
again, you really did remind me of the gun though. And I guess I shouldn't vote or make any type of assumption until I've seen both sides present their case. I think I have a bad habit of doing that sometimes. And I'm going to be better
well,
about that, not forming this opinion before I see everything.
well, there's certain things
Yeah.
like this is another case for me where I really don't have an hard way opinion either way.
Yeah.
I know as a gun owner, it's respond, and I can tell you, there's a lot of gun owners that are upset about what happened, right? Where just certain things you
Oh,
don't do,
yeah.
like you don't point the gun at people, you don't have your finger on the trigger. But you know what? People say, well, they're filming it, but they were practicing, or they weren't even supposed to be practicing. This is something that they're going to have to try to get out there. But the defense
Yeah.
has laid out their plan, and that plan is pretty simple. Hannah Gutierrez didn't do her job, and that's how this ended up this way. And
And
my
that's
client
also
is a victim,
true.
right?
That's the
And
truest thing I've ever heard. Literally the truest
that's
thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
and that came out yesterday a few times.
Yeah. And it's so I've been trying to do some research on John Bash and all his attorney, and all I can find is that he was a former US attorney during the Trump administration. Oh yeah, no one was charged in Brandon Lee's death. No, but that movie, The Crow, did insanely well in the box office because everybody wanted to go and see the movie where someone died. as twisted as that sounds. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I
Well,
don't even know what I was saying. I just totally lost my train of thought. Imagine talking so
listen,
much that you don't remember what you're saying.
it's a shame because once again, Helena Hutchins, nothing is going to, like you said, bring her back and be able
No.
to deal with this in the family. I mean, we know there's been 2 civil suits that he's already, I think, paid
He's
out.
settled. Yeah, and I think that's partially why he's doing this weird reality show on TLC. I don't know the stipulations of this suit with Helena's widow, but I know that he's probably going to have to make a lot of payments for a very long time. Remember when the expert handler pointed the gun at the judge? Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
Honestly,
right? Remember that?
I could not. That trial was hard to watch. And I've said this so many times simply because of Hannah Gutierrez Reed. I will never get over what a horrible defendant she was. I mean, I've never seen anyone look so bored to be, you know what I mean? Like, not sorry, not even, it was just so offensive to have the camera just pan over to her being like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we know that there's safety concerns, like Julie had mentioned here, 6, there it is. Julie, 6 members left due to safety concerns, says it all. Yeah, that we know that there's lots of problems in the production of the whole thing, and that's something that,
they won't be
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how the prosecution, how prosecution handles this.
No, and Dave Halls, this is interesting. Dave Halls is a witness for the defense, I believe I wrote. And obviously, no. Yeah, Dave Halls is a witness for the defense. And that's interesting because he was the one allegedly who handed Hannah the gun. He's the assistant director.
Confusion, right? There was even confusion about that, right? Hannah handed it to him. David Halls handed it to him.
Yeah. So listen to this, Joe. Dave Halls, he was fired in 2019 from another set over a gun incident. So I'm kind of like, how's that not going to come up? It says a producer for the film Freedom's Path confirmed to Rolling Stone that Halls, who served as assistant director, was terminated on the spot of a film in 2019 after a gun, quote, unexpectedly discharged on his watch. What? And now this happened again. And so this guy, I believe, has immunity of some sort because
he has immunity from this case. Yeah.
Yeah.
He signed a deal, so he got something. But the other thing is that there was another accidental discharge on the set of Rust too. I think at least one. So
was there?
Yes. Okay. If I remember correctly, there was more than one. This wasn't the only one. Interesting.
Okay. No, I didn't realize that. I just was shocked to hear that this happened to Dave Halls before. And I'm kind of like, what? That seems like a really weird coincidence. Really,
yeah,
really
Dizzy
weird.
said he never wanted to testify for state in Hannah's trial.
So you know who else is on the state's witness list is the director, Joel Souza. And I'm interested in that because he and Alec are good friends. Joel directed the other film. I did my live yesterday just for fun. I showed part of my coverage of this other film from 2019 and it had Joel and Alec, and yeah, they're good friends. They work together on, off screen, on screen, clearly. So this is going to be sad. It's just going to be a sad trial.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be quick though. I think it's going to go over, in a couple of days. It's going to be. I don't think this is going to drag on because the judge seems as if she's
10
no
days,
nonsense. Yeah, she's no nonsense. She laid down the law yesterday, boy. I mean, unlike what we saw in the court of Judge Bev, she was kind of this judge, boy. She showed her anger yesterday. Like I said, at both sides. I mean, she's not playing games. I like her. I like when judges take charge in their courtroom.
Totally. I totally agree with you. And you're right. She said she wants this to last about 10 days with jury selection, maybe longer because of deliberations, but that's awesome to hear, right? Imagine, God, Judge Bev.
When she questioned the defense. Yeah, when she I forgot the female lawyer's name. She had questioned her.
Little, or?
It might be, and she was talking to her. So what you're asking me is for a continuance, right? We go to trial like tomorrow. I mean, she's just like, no, we're not doing it. Oh,
sorry, you're talking about Baldwin.
Yes, Baldwin.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you're talking about, Carrie Morrissey? She's the
Yes, that's
Carrie
it. Carrie
Morrissey.
Morrissey.
Yeah, she's
Right.
the prosecutor. Yeah, she's fierce too. Oh my goodness, totally fierce.
Yeah, I know, but she backed off when the judge said, "So
Yeah.
you." She's like, "Oh, I'm just asking for one thing." She's like, "No, you're asking for four, and the fourth one is a continuance. We go to
Yeah.
trial tomorrow, right?" I mean, she
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah.
and,
Hardcore.
"Ooh, yeah, no, I like that." All right, so we're down to the last 10 minutes or so. Let's get into some of
Aw.
the other. Well, we promised everybody we're going to talk about these other things. Uh, the Matthew Perry, we had, I know it's kind of came out, I guess, about a week or so ago that the investigation
Yeah.
has been completed. And tell us what, like, some of the background is on this Matthew Perry case. We know that he overdosed, right, in the hot tub.
Yeah. So people seem to be a little upset that there's a criminal investigation going on as to what they believe. And I'm saying the people believe to be an overdose. People, I've read many places, many comments saying, well, people overdose every day. Why is it just this celebrity getting a criminal investigation? Well, let me just quickly break this down. Matthew Perry was getting treatment for depression through ketamine. And, it's a very, very small amount. It actually leaves your system between 2 and 3 hours. So he was weaning himself off of these treatments. And he hadn't been to this one clinic in probably a week and a half when he died. The day that he died, he was playing pickleball. He just recently quit smoking. He was trying to get healthy. Now, he did die in a hot tub, right? It's not great when you don't have a good heart. And we know that he has completely abused his body. He's very open, or he was very open about it. If you read his memoir, it's so intense, you guys. His memoir is amazing. I mean, he talks about not remembering filming seasons of Friends, not episodes, like full seasons. He has no recollection because he was so high, so drunk, whatever. So it's safe to say, yeah, he abused his body. And obviously, we know being in a hot tub and having these issues, and then we later find out upon autopsy that he had lorazepam in his system, and then he had enough ketamine that would be used on a patient in general anesthesia. So that was insane, and that caused Keith Morrison, his stepfather. Keith Morrison married Matthew Perry's mother when Matthew was like 12 years old. He said, "Wait a second. How does one procure this much ketamine? This is an insane amount. I would like this to be a criminal investigation." And so he contacted the LAPD, who agreed, and then contacted the DEA, and I believe postal fraud as well, because they were considering doctor shopping throughout this. So, Joe, you can add to this, but I want to make it clear people can open a criminal investigation if somebody overdoses. You just have to move that forward yourself. Am I right?
Well, it's not that you move it forward, and
Or
it
you
happens all the
push
time.
it.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, Long Island and Suffolk County, the district attorney Ray Tierney just brought charges of manslaughter for people who were selling drugs to people who overdosed with the fentanyl. So it's
Right.
becoming a viable strategy. Excuse me, a viable strategy for district attorneys to go after drug dealers and charge them with these much higher crimes. That when
Yeah.
they can prove that you were the person that either gave them the drugs or sold them the drugs. See, in New York State, if you give somebody drugs and something happens, you're just as responsible as selling it. It actually counts as a sale. So yeah, the New
Wow.
York State penal law is written really
Wow.
weird in regards to that. But yes, I don't know I don't know the California penal code, but yes, this is happening across the country. So and I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought it up because it's not unusual that they're going after the drug dealers with these charges. So
And
yes,
it's
I know
not
it's
a
a high
homicide
profile case.
charge, not a homicide charge. They
No, it's not.
can't,
Oh
I,
no,
I
it'll
want to
never
make
be.
that clear.
Yeah,
Yeah. So they're
it
not
can't be.
searching for, right. And so, and I wanted you to explain that to people because, like, a lot of the time, sure, someone overdoses, they're a drug addict, you move along, it's sad. And then other times, yes, criminal investigations are open. So it's not like this doesn't happen, because it does happen. Uh, and I think, they brought up Brooke Mueller, Charlie Sheen's ex. I don't know if she's a suspect. She cooperated, if you could consider her a suspect. But they seized her phone and her laptop over this friendship. I don't know what that means. Truly, Joe, I don't know what that means. I don't want to slander her in any way, because she's the only one that's been named throughout all of this. There's one other person it came out that they're speaking to about this, someone famous, but they did not disclose their name. So I think it's going to be interesting. But I don't like I said, I don't think this is like justice for Matthew Perry. I really don't. I think Matthew Perry was an adult with issues. He made his own decisions, and he had maybe some not
Demons.
great
He had some
influence.
demons. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Totally. And he's again open about that. But yeah, he had some maybe not great people in his inner circle who possibly enabled him to do this. But I don't think it's about justice here. I think it's maybe just about not having this much ketamine in this Hollywood circle and beyond.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I said, this is not unusual. It's been happening all over the place, and it's been in response to the fentanyl crisis. But what I can say
Yeah.
is I think what people are upset about is maybe that because they're equating because he's Matthew Perry and he was a famous individual and that the father's famous too, that
Yeah.
they're able to get the police moving quicker on this. That's neither here nor there. I can't answer that for sure, but it could certainly appear that way. Like I said, it could certainly appear that way, right? I mean, it's
and it's true. And like it's also like they're not just looking at Kay, and I'm sure you can agree with that. Like when the DEA gets involved, they're looking for anything and everything. Kay just happens to be the main focus here. But I think that it's a good thing. I think it really is. If they can save
well, it
other
sends a
lives,
message.
then why not?
It sends a message. It does. All right.
That's
So
why you're so good.
the last few minutes we have Bryson Muir.
Oh,
right.
Oh my gosh.
This young boy, right? His father's been arrested now. His mother's been arrested. He disappeared. Yes. Thankfully, he's been found okay. But there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on here with cult ties, right? And all kinds of crazy stuff.
I know a former cult is in a cult. I kind of said that the other day. It's not really funny, but yeah, Bryson Muir. So it was first reported that his grandmother had said to police that he appeared to be beaten and bruised, and the picture, it's so sad. It circulated online. This poor
he's got, I think it's left eye.
Oh yeah, this poor sweet 14-year-old boy. He's got a huge black eye, and his grandma went to the police, and she's like, his dad and mom are doing this, or his dad is doing this, and the mom is allowing this to happen. And next thing you know, Bryson goes missing. So there was a silver alert, I believe, for Bryson Muir. And what happened was 2 weeks into his disappearance, they end up raiding Indiana Straightway. Now, this is a property of a religious group that is based out of Tennessee, but this group is in Indiana. And this is just from what you can read online about this group called Straightway. And there's Pastor Dowell. I know this because I looked up the YouTube. He posted this YouTube video, and it was horrible, in my opinion. He just basically said the police came in here, they used force. They don't actually care about Bryson Muir. They don't care at all. And I'm like, what? And he pulled the race card too about white people not caring. And I'm like, they rescued this little boy, and it was said that Bryson and Daniel Muir and Kristen, his wife, hid Bryson there because of how badly beaten he was. So I don't know if that picture was of Bryson being beat that time or it was previously, but I'm pretty sure this little boy was beat very badly. So they wanted to keep him there. And allegedly Daniel was recorded on a phone call saying, I beat his ass like a grown man. And so they were arraigned and they were denied the mom and dad without bail, or they were denied bail. And I believe their next court date is mid-July. So, and they were charged with a number of things with child endangerment. And I'm like, this is terrible. And every time I hear about a football player doing this, he was a defensive tackle for how long? All I can think about is how messed up is your head? And not all football players end up being Aaron Hernandez, obviously, and Daniel Muir, but my goodness, But
you have to think about this thing, right? I mean, that's I'm sure that's what the defense is going to bring out on that one, right? So
well, and how many other kids, Joe, are on this property, this religious group? I mean, this could be much bigger than anyone knows. And his grandma actually said, I think that Bryson's been brainwashed by his parents because he didn't want to tell who beat him and who did this. And it makes me uncomfortable. I feel so bad for this kid because what you'll have to undo is just,
Yep. So Steve says the difference between an Amber Alert and a Silver Alert. Silver Alert usually has to do with elderly people, though. I thought, right, 60 and over, that they do that, and the Amber
Oh,
Alert
so
has to do
maybe
with
it wasn't.
children.
So
Yeah,
guys, don't listen to
children
me.
under
Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah,
You know what it
children
was?
under the age of I think it's 17 get the Amber Alert.
Sorry, you know who had the I'm so sorry. The silver alert was Nikki McCain because she's 40. Would that make more sense?
Yeah, I don't know if that even fits in the whole thing, but there's other kinds of alerts too, and
Where did I see this? Yeah, it was a silver alert for Nikki. I'm looking. Yeah.
while you're looking up for that, Cakes Boo, thank you.
Yeah.
Please like the stream, Sergeant Lauren. Thanks for your thoughtful insight. Thank you, Cakes Boo. 262 people watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and to tip your waiters and waitresses on the way out the door.
Love that.
So as the last minute that we have on here, if one of the mods can post the YouTube channel Pop Crime TV for Lauren, if she could just post that right in the comment section, and please go over there and check out her page as she's starting to grow that. She had on Kirk Nurmi, who we had on our show.
Yes.
And so he, she just did that show. I was hanging out with them the other day. So if you can get a chance to send some love her way over there too, that'd be great, because she's helped this channel grow tremendous amount. Because people like coming to see you here, Lauren.
That's so nice. Like I said, I love being here and like just having my coffee with you guys. It's so much fun. I really look forward.
Yeah, it's like it's a radio show vibe. I call it, where you're just talking about some different things. You can have some fun. You can talk some.
Go syndicated. Let's call AM 970 and like go syndicated here. True crime with the Sarge at 8 a.m. Really, listen to it in your car. Listen to it. Yeah.
So it was a silver alert for Bryson Muir.
It was, right?
Yep. It was a silver alert.
Okay,
thanks, Barbara Jean.
You know what? I need to be more confident and not doubt myself all the time.
Yeah, well, it was. Listen, I kind of threw you off because I thought that silver alert only had to do with. Yeah, so I was right about the Amber Alert, 17.
Yes.
So, but there are ages, yeah.
Yeah. So
there are ages with that.
Why was Bryson a silver alert then? That's weird.
Anja, another great show. Joel, Lauren, thank you. Yes, Lauren will be back, I'm sure. She's a welcome anytime she wants to come on here. And
let's do next week. Next week, or I think you're busy the rest of this weweek. So.
Oh my God, I pulled this whole thing off with all these shows this week because of the 1 year anniversary of the Rex Sherman arrest. That's this weekend. So like today, everything's been. Yesterday I had Mary Murphy on, who was great. She's a doll. I don't know if you know Mary Murphy. She's former from Channel 11.
Yeah.
And then I did the Murder Accountability Project. So yeah, this Friday I have on Douglas McGregor, who is he's a geographical profiler.
He's great.
Yeah, so he's going to be on there. We're going to be sharing his stuff.
Do you know Frank McKay?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay. So we used to work at the same radio station. He is also could be a great guest for you about LISC, because he has been following this forever, like since before they knew. It's crazy. I should definitely.
Thanks, Bill. You're doing a great show. Yeah, we're trying over here. We're getting there. So like I said, I got Friday, I got Douglas McGregor. Saturday, Josh Seaman is coming back.
Wow.
And then I don't know if we're going to have a roll call on Friday, because I'm going to be exhausted all this, because my wife's got me running around Wednesday and Thursday. So we shall see. But
wait, what are you doing Wednesday? Are you doing like family stuff or just like?
Yeah.
Okay.
The wife's got me by the ear. So
I'm not getting out of that. Good husband, happy wife, happy life. So good job.
Yeah, that's what they say, but that doesn't seem to always work out that way. We try all kinds of things. We try. All right, folks.
So funny.
You guys enjoy the day. Hopefully, we'll see you tonight at 6 p.m. with Peter Vronsky. You guys have a great day. Lauren, you hang out 1 second. Everybody, take care. We'll see you.